The council chamber was massive. G1 had seen it before, but today it felt different. Today the walls seemed closer. The crystalline ceiling caught the light from the distant star and scattered it across the floor in patterns that shifted like water. Hundreds of aliens filled the seats that curved around the central platform. Their eyes, in all different shapes and colors, watched him. G1 stood at the platform with his hands behind his back. His uniform was crisp and clean, the deep blue of Earth's diplomatic corps. Next to him, Hyeji stood just as still. Her face showed nothing. They had practiced this. Ambassador Vrank raised one of his forearms. The chamber fell silent. Vrank's species looked like insects with hard shells and multiple limbs. His voice came through the translator as a series of clicks that turned into words. The Galactic Council calls this emergency session to order. We gather today to address a serious matter. The species known as humanity stands accused of predatory deception. Murmurs spread through the chamber. G1 did not move. He had expected this. Commander Threx stood from his seat in the military section. His scales were dark green, and his eyes were yellow with thin black slits. His species had ruled 3 star systems before joining the council. They knew war. They knew predators. The humans came to us 5 years ago, Threx said. His voice was deep and rough. They showed us their ships. Small ships, weak weapons. They said they came in peace. They smiled and shook our hands. They traded with us. They learned from us. He turned to face G1 directly. But we have learned the truth. Humans are not the gentle traders they pretended to be. They are hunters, killers. They come from a world of violence and death. They hid this from us, more voices joined in. A representative with blue skin and too many fingers stood up. We welcomed them into our markets. Into our homes. Another alien, one that looked like it was made of living crystal, added. They deceived us about their true nature. This is a violation of council law. First contact protocols demand honesty. G1 listened to it all. Hyeji remained still beside him, but he could see the slight tension in her jaw. She was a military liaison, not a diplomat. This kind of talking was not her strength. But she was here because the council had demanded to see both sides of humanity. The peaceful and the dangerous. Ambassador Vrank waited for the noise to settle. The evidence is clear. Human military capabilities far exceed what was reported during first contact. Their homeworld, which they call Earth, is significantly more dangerous than they disclosed. The question before this council is simple. Did humanity deliberately mislead us? And if so, what shall be done? A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed images of human soldiers in training. They ran through obstacle courses. They fired weapons. They practiced combat in realistic simulations. The images were taken from public broadcasts that Earth had sent into space years ago, before first contact. These were easy to find, Threx said, once we knew to look. Humans broadcast their military strength across the galaxy, yet when they arrived at our borders they showed us only cargo ships and science vessels. G1 finally spoke. His voice was calm and clear. May I respond to these accusations? Frank's antennae twitched. You may. Everything Commander Threx said is true, G1 said. Humans do have military capabilities. Our homeworld is dangerous. We did arrive in cargo ships and science vessels. He paused. But we did not lie. We showed you exactly what we wanted you to see, just as every species does during first contact. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Frank had to raise 2 arms to call for silence. You admit to deception, one alien shouted. G1 shook his head. No, I admit to caution. Tell me, Ambassador Vrank, when your species first met the Thol Collective, did you immediately show them your military strength? Did you invite them to tour your weapons facilities? Vrank's mandibles clicked together. He did not answer. Every species protects itself during first contact, G1 continued. This is normal. This is expected. What is happening here today is not about deception. It is about fear. Threx slammed his fist on the railing. Fear? You dare accuse this council of fear? Yes, Hyeji said. She spoke for the first time, her voice sharp and direct. You are afraid because you learned something about us that you did not expect. Something that changes how you see us. And instead of asking us about it, you put us on trial. We have every right to know what stands among us, another representative called out. G1 raised his hand. Then let us show you. Not pieces of old broadcasts taken out of context. Not speculation and rumor. Let us show you the truth about humanity. All of it. The parts that scare you and the parts that should give you hope. Frank leaned forward. His compound eyes reflected the chamber lights. You wish to present evidence? I wish to present context, Jiwan said. You have shown the Council what humans can do in battle, but you have not shown them where we came from. You have not shown them why we are the way we are. If this Council wants to judge humanity, then it should judge us with full knowledge. The aliens looked at each other. Some whispered. Some sat in silence. Finally, Frank spoke. Very well. The Council will hear your presentation, but know this, human. If you seek to deceive us again, there will be consequences. The Council does not tolerate lies, Jiwan nodded slowly. I understand. And I promise you this, what I am about to show you is the truth. The complete truth. Some of it will disturb you. Some of it may frighten you, but all of it is real. He looked at Hyeji. She touched a control pad on her wrist. The holographic display shifted and changed. New images began to load. We will start at the beginning, Jiwan said, with Earth itself, with the world that made us what we are. The lights in the chamber dimmed. All eyes turned to the center display. Jiwan took a breath. This was the moment. Everything would change after this. The Council would either accept humanity, or they would cast them out. There would be no middle ground. The display came to life with an image of Earth from space. Blue and green and white, it looked peaceful, beautiful, harmless. Jiwan knew that image was a lie. Earth was none of those things. And in the next few minutes, the entire Galactic Council would learn just how wrong their first impression had been. He pressed the button to start the presentation. The image zoomed in toward the surface, toward the jungles and oceans and plains where death waited around every corner, where humans had learned to survive by becoming something more dangerous than anything that hunted them. The Council was about to meet the real humanity. And Jiwan could only hope they would understand. The holographic display showed a forest. Thick trees rose toward the sky, their leaves forming a canopy that blocked most of the sunlight. Beautiful, some of the Council members thought. Then the image moved. Something large walked through the undergrowth. Orange and black stripes, muscles moving under fur. The creature was massive, easily 3 times the size of a human. Its teeth were as long as fingers. It moved without sound despite its size. This is a tiger, Jiwan said, one of Earth's apex predators. It can run faster than most species in this room can think. Its bite force can crush bone. It hunts alone and kills prey much larger than itself. The display shifted. Now it showed an ocean. Clear blue water stretched to the horizon. Then something moved beneath the surface. A gray shape, sleek and fast. It burst upward, rows of teeth visible in a mouth that could swallow a person whole. This is a great white shark, Jiwan continued. It has existed for over 400 million years. It has no natural predators in the ocean. Its senses are so sharp it can detect a single drop of blood in an Olympic-sized pool. More images followed. A bear standing on its hind legs taller than 3 humans stacked together. An eagle diving from the sky at speeds that broke the sound barrier. Talons extended. A crocodile lurking in murky water, patient and deadly. Wolves hunting in packs, their coordination perfect. Some Council members shifted in their seats. Others leaned forward. The creatures on the display were terrifying. Earth is what we call a death world, Jiwan said. Gravity is high. The atmosphere is oxygen-rich, which allows creatures to grow large and strong. The planet has extreme weather, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, drought and flood. Ice ages and heat waves. The display showed all of it. Walls of water crushing cities, wind that tore buildings apart, ground that split open and swallowed everything above it. And in this world, Jiwan said, humans evolved. We did not start as apex predators. We started as prey. The display changed again. Now it showed early humans. They were smaller, weaker. They ran from the big cats. They hid in caves from the bears. They feared the snakes and spiders whose venom could kill in minutes. We should have died, Jiwan said quietly. By every logical measure, humans should have gone extinct. We were not the fastest. We were not the strongest. We did not have claws or fangs or armor. But we had something else. The display showed a group of humans. They worked together using primitive tools. Rocks tied to sticks, sharp edges made from stone. They planned. They thought. They adapted. We had endurance, Jiwan said. Watch. The display showed a man running. His name appeared on the screen. Minho, endurance hunter, modern recreation of ancient technique. He ran across a hot plain under the blazing sun. In front of him, an animal ran as well. Fast at first, but then slower. The animal stopped to rest. Minho did not stop. He kept running. The animal ran again, stopped again. Minho kept coming. This continued for hours. The animal grew weaker. Its tongue hung out. Its legs shook. Finally, it collapsed. It was still alive, but too exhausted to move. Minho walked up to it calmly. Persistence hunting, Jiwan explained. Humans can run for longer than almost any other creature on Earth. We sweat to cool down so we do not overheat. We can track prey for days. We simply do not stop. We run our prey to death through pure endurance. Silence filled the chamber. The alien stared at the display. The image changed to show another human, a woman named Suna. She stood in a wilderness with nothing but basic clothes. The display showed her over several days. She made fire by rubbing sticks together. She created tools from stones. She built a shelter. She caught fish with her bare hands and set traps for small animals. We learned to use tools, Jiwon said, better than any other species on our planet. We made weapons. We made fire. Fire allowed us to cook food, which gave us more energy. Energy that fed our growing brains. Those brains let us plan and think and innovate. The display showed humans throughout history. They wore animal skins. They carried spears. They worked together to hunt creatures 10 times their size. Mammoths fell before coordinated groups of humans with simple weapons and complex strategies. We learned to cooperate, Jiwon continued. Human tribes worked together. They communicated. They taught their children. Each generation learned from the last and improved. Knowledge accumulated. The display showed human civilization growing. Villages became cities. Cities became nations. Simple tools became complex machines. And through all of this, Jiwon said, we remained on a death world. The tigers still hunted us. The sharks still attacked us. The bears still raided our camps. Nature gave us no mercy. It taught us no kindness. He paused and looked around the chamber. So we learned to give none back. The display showed humans hunting the animals that once hunted them. They used traps and weapons. They used strategy and teamwork. The balance shifted. Humans were no longer prey. They became predators. We did not do this out of cruelty, Jiwon said. We did it to survive. Every species in this room evolved on a world that allowed them to develop peacefully. Worlds with abundant resources and few threats. Worlds where intelligence meant you could build and create without constantly fighting for your life. The display showed images of various alien worlds, peaceful, calm, beautiful. Earth did not give us that luxury, Jiwon said. Earth tested us every single day. It killed the weak. It challenged the strong. It forced us to adapt or die. And we adapted. The display returned to showing Earth, forests and oceans, mountains and deserts. It looked beautiful. But now the council saw it differently. They saw the death hiding in every shadow, the danger lurking beneath every wave. Commander Threx spoke, his voice quieter than before. You are saying that humanity evolved in an environment of constant warfare. Not just against each other, but against your entire planet. Yes, Jiwon said simply. And you wonder why we are concerned? Threx continued. You are a species forged by violence, shaped by death. You learned to hunt creatures that could kill you with a single blow. You learned to outlast, outthink, and outfight everything on your world. We did, Jiwon agreed. But we learned something else too. The display changed one more time. It showed humans helping each other. Sharing food, caring for the injured, teaching the young, building communities, creating art and music, exploring space not with weapons but with curiosity. We learned compassion, Jiwon said. In a world of death, we learned to value life. In a world of violence, we learned to seek peace. Not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. Hyeji stepped forward. You fear what we are capable of. That is reasonable, but you should also see what we choose to be. We could have come to the council with weapons ready. We could have demanded territory and resources. We could have been conquerors. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of different representatives. Instead, we came as traitors, as friends, as partners. That was not deception. That was choice. Ambassador Vrank's antennae moved slowly. You present a compelling argument. But the question remains. Can a species bred by violence truly choose peace? Or will your nature eventually win out? Jiwon smiled slightly. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had expected exactly this question. Let me show you more. Let me show you our history. Then you can judge for yourselves whether humans are capable of choosing their own path. Ambassador Vrenk called for a recess. The council members needed time to process what they had seen. Jiwon and Hyeji stepped down from the platform and walked to a small waiting room reserved for witnesses and defendants. The door closed behind them with a soft hiss. Hyeji let out a long breath. That went better than expected. They are scared, Jiwon said. He poured himself a glass of water from a dispenser. But they are listening. That is more than we could have hoped for. Do you think it will be enough? Before Jiwon could answer, the door opened. Commander Threk stood in the doorway, his yellow eyes fixed on them both. I need to speak with you now. Jiwon set down his glass. Commander, the recess is supposed to give us time to prepare for the next session. This cannot wait, Threk said. He stepped inside and the door closed behind him. He held a small data device in his clawed hand. I have something you need to see. Something that changes everything. Hyeji moved to stand between Threx and Jiwon. Her hand rested near the emergency beacon on her belt. What is this about? Threx activated the device. A holographic image appeared in the air. It showed a human ship smaller than a cruiser but larger than a scout vessel. The designation on the hull read, Explorer 7. This ship was part of a border survey mission 3 months ago, Threx said. It entered a disputed sector near the Krell cluster. A Krell patrol intercepted it. The image began to play like a video. The human ship floated in space. 3 Krell vessels surrounded it. They were larger, better armed. The lead Krell ship sent a transmission demanding the humans leave immediately or be destroyed. Jiwon watched carefully. He had not heard about this incident. That meant it had been classified at a high level. The video continued. The human ship did not flee. Instead, it powered up its weapons. Not all of them. Just enough to show they had them. The Krell ships opened fire. What happened next made Hyeji inhale sharply. The human ship moved. Fast. Faster than a ship that size should be able to move. It dodged the first barrage of weapons fire. Its own weapons returned fire with precision. 1 Krell ship lost its engines. Another took damage to its communications array. The 3rd ship backed away. But it was what happened inside the human ship that made Threx pause the video. He zoomed in on a view from the bridge. The crew was visible through the viewport. 4 humans, 3 men, and 1 woman. They should have been terrified. They should have been panicking. Instead, they were smiling, not nervous smiles. Not the forced confidence of people trying to be brave. Real smiles. The kind of smiles that came from excitement. From thrill. From joy. Your people enjoyed the combat, Threx said quietly. I have seen many species fight. Some fight because they must. Some fight with fear. Some fight with rage. But I have never seen a species that fights with happiness. Jiwon looked at the frozen image. He recognized one of the crew members. The captain's name was Doyun. They had served together years ago. Doyun was a good officer. Calm under pressure. Excellent tactical mind. What happened after this? Jiwon asked. The human ship left the sector as ordered, Threx said. Both sides filed reports. The incident was classified to avoid escalating tensions. But I obtained the footage. He deactivated the display. Explain this to me. What kind of species smiles when being attacked? Hyeji spoke before Jiwon could. The kind that trained for exactly that scenario. The kind that prepared for years to face situations where death was a real possibility. The kind that learned to control their fear and use it as fuel. You are not denying it, Threx said. You acknowledge that humans find combat exhilarating. Some humans do, Jiwon admitted. Not all. But yes, there are humans who thrive in dangerous situations, who feel most alive when facing death. It is part of how we survived on Earth. Threx's tail moved in agitation. This is exactly what the Council fears. You say you come in peace, but your nature drives you toward conflict. You say you choose compassion, but you smile when fighting. Those are not contradictions, Jiwon said. He walked closer to Threx, unafraid of the commander's size and strength. Humans can be peaceful. We can also be warriors. We contain both. What matters is which side we choose to show. And what determines that choice? Threx asked. A new voice answered. Context and necessity. Everyone turned. A holographic figure materialized in the room. It was another human male, wearing the uniform of Earth's defense fleet. Captain Doyen himself. Captain, Jiwon said. You should not be here. This is a closed session. Commander Threx included me when he activated that footage, Doyen said. His hologram was clear and stable. The ship transmitted my presence when it recognized the classified material. I have authorization to provide testimony regarding that incident. Threx looked between them. This was not my intention. Nevertheless, Doyen said, I am here now, and I can explain what the commander saw. He gestured and the footage played again. The moment of the attack. The human crew responding with speed and precision. The smiles. Yes, we were smiling, Doyen said. Do you know why? Because we had trained for this exact situation over 2,000 times. We ran simulations. We practiced maneuvers. We studied Krell tactics. When the attack came, we were not surprised. We were ready. That does not explain the joy, Threx said. Doyen's expression grew serious. Commander, have you ever worked very hard at something? Practiced until you could do it perfectly? And then been given the chance to show what you learned? Threx said nothing. That is what you saw, Doyen continued. Not bloodlust. Not savagery. Professional pride. We trained to be the best at our jobs. When the moment came to prove it, we succeeded. That is why we smiled. You smiled because you won, Threx said. No, Doyen corrected. We smiled because we were competent. Winning was just the result of preparation meeting opportunity. A new hologram appeared. This one was a woman, older, with sharp eyes and a calm demeanor. She wore civilian clothes but carried herself with authority. Captain Doyen, Commander Threx, Representative G1. Director Yunji, G1 said. He recognized the head of Earth's intelligence service. This is becoming quite the gathering. When classified material is accessed, I am notified, Yunji said. Commander Threx, you asked what kind of species smiles during combat. Let me show you something else. She produced her own holographic display. This one showed data streams, numbers and charts and tactical assessments. These are war game simulations, Yunji explained. Scenarios where Earth faced various alien species in theoretical conflicts. We ran thousands of them, against the Krell, the Vrenthi, the Thal Collective. Even against species like yours, Commander. Threx stepped back as if struck. You wargamed scenarios against council members? Against every species we encountered, Yunji confirmed. It is standard procedure. We analyze capabilities, assess threats, and develop strategies. Not because we want conflict. Because we refuse to be unprepared for it. When did you run these simulations? Threx demanded. His voice was tight. Yunji met his gaze calmly. We began the moment we detected your first radio transmission. Before we ever made contact, before you knew we existed. We studied you. We analyzed you. We prepared for every possible outcome of first contact, including hostile response. The room fell silent. G1 could see Threx processing this information. The implications were staggering. You came to us already knowing how to fight us, Threx said slowly. You shook our hands while holding plans for our defeat in your other hand. Yes, G1 said. There was no point in denying it. Just as I am certain your military has done similar assessments of us. And the Vrenthi have done assessments of you, and so on. Every species prepares for the worst while hoping for the best. But you do it better, Threx said. You have had practice. Thousands of years of practice, Hyeji nodded. Earth gave us no choice. We learned to prepare, to plan, to expect danger from every direction. It kept us alive. And now that you are here among the stars, you bring that mentality with you, Threx said. That is what terrifies the Council. Not that you are dangerous, but that you are dangerous and competent. You do not just have claws. You know exactly how to use them. Jiwan smiled then. The same kind of smile the crew of Explorer 7 had worn. Not cruel. Not threatening. Just confident, yes, he said simply. Yes, we do. The Council reconvened after the recess. Commander Threx returned to his seat, but his expression had changed. He looked thoughtful now rather than angry. Jiwan noticed this and filed it away as important. Ambassador Vrank raised his arms again. The Council is ready to continue. Representative Jiwan, you may proceed with your presentation. Jiwan stepped back to the center platform. The holographic display activated once more. You have seen what Earth is. Now I will show you what Earth made us become. The display showed ancient humans. They gathered in small tribes, living in caves and temporary shelters. They hunted animals and gathered plants. Life was simple but brutal. Human civilization is approximately 12,000 years old, Jiwan began. But our species existed for hundreds of thousands of years before that. For most of our history, we lived like this. Small groups. Constant struggle. Then something changed. The display shifted to show early settlements, humans building permanent structures, farming land, domesticating animals. We learned agriculture. We learned to control our food supply. This allowed our population to grow. More people meant we could specialize. Some grew food. Others made tools. Others became warriors to protect the group. Warriors, a council member repeated. Even in times of peace you maintained warriors. Always, Jiwan confirmed. Because there was never truly peace. With more resources came competition. Tribes fought over territory, over water, over food. This is when human warfare truly began. The display showed ancient battles. Humans with spears and shields facing each other. The combat was chaotic and brutal. No formations. No strategy. Just violence. At first our wars were simple, Jiwan said. But we learned. Always we learned. The images progressed through time. Warriors in formation now moving together. Cavalry on horses. Archers providing support. Siege weapons attacking fortified walls. Meet Taeyong, Jiwan said as a new figure appeared in the display. He is a military historian. He has studied human warfare for 30 years. This is his analysis of how human combat evolved. The holographic Taeyong began to speak. Human warfare became increasingly sophisticated over time. We developed strategy and tactics. We learned logistics, how to supply an army over long distances. We created military academies to train officers. We wrote books on the art of war. The display showed famous battles throughout history, armies maneuvering on fields, naval fleets engaging on oceans. The tactics grew more complex with each example. What makes human warfare unique, Taeyong continued, is that we fought constantly while also developing as a civilization. Most species reach a certain level of development and reduce their conflicts. Humans did the opposite. As we became more advanced, our wars became larger and more destructive. The display showed medieval warfare. Knights in armor, castles under siege, catapults throwing massive stones, thousands of soldiers clashing in massive battles. This is just the beginning, Taeyong said. Watch what happens as human technology improves. The images moved forward in time. Gunpowder weapons appeared. Cannons that could destroy castle walls. Muskets that could kill from a distance. Ships with dozens of guns fighting on the seas. Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Human weapons technology advanced rapidly, Taeyong explained. Because we were always at war with someone. Every nation competed to have better weapons than their enemies. This drove innovation. The display showed more recent history. World wars. Millions of soldiers fighting across entire continents. Airplanes dropping bombs. Tanks rolling across battlefields. The scale was staggering. In our 20th century alone, Taeyong said, humans fought 2 global conflicts. Over 100 million people died. Cities were destroyed. Entire nations collapsed. And through it all, we continued to develop new technology, not despite the wars, but because of them. The display showed a mushroom cloud rising into the sky. The nuclear age ambassador Vrank stood up. You developed weapons that could destroy your entire planet. While still fighting each other? Yes, Jiwan said. We split the atom and immediately weaponized it. We created bombs that could level cities in seconds. And we almost used them. We came very close to destroying ourselves. Why did you not? Another council member asked. Most species that develop such weapons either use them and go extinct, or recognize the danger and destroy them. You did neither. We kept them, Jiwan said, because we feared what others would do if we did not have them. This is called deterrence. The idea that weapons so terrible prevent war by making the cost too high. Did it work? Frank asked. Sometimes, Jiwan admitted, and sometimes it did not. But it gave us time. Time to develop space travel. Time to look outward instead of inward. The display showed human achievements in space. The first satellite. The first human in orbit. The first steps on Earth's moon. Space stations. Probes sent to other planets. Even in space, our military training continued, Jiwan said. A new figure appeared in the display. A woman in a military flight suit. This is Gina. She is an instructor at Earth's Space Force Academy. The holographic Gina began speaking. Space combat presents unique challenges. No gravity, no air. Weapons behave differently. Movement follows different rules. We had to develop entirely new tactics and strategies. The display showed simulations of space combat. Ships maneuvering in 3 dimensions. Missiles tracking targets across vast distances. Energy weapons cutting through hulls. We trained for this, Gina continued. We studied physics. We ran thousands of simulations. We prepared for combat in space long before we ever encountered another species. Because you assumed space would be hostile, Threx said. It was not a question. We hoped it would be peaceful, Gina corrected. But we prepared for it to be hostile. This is the human way. The display shifted one final time. It showed a timeline of human history, from the first crude weapons to modern spacecraft. One long, continuous line of conflict and innovation. This is what you need to understand, G1 said, addressing the entire council. Humans reached the stars while fighting each other. We developed space travel while nations on Earth were still at war. We made first contact with you while our world was not fully united. He paused, letting that sink in. Most species achieve peace, then reach for the stars. We did both simultaneously. We learned to wage war and seek peace at the same time. This makes us different. It makes you dangerous, a council member said. Yes, G1 agreed. But consider what it also means. We learned to cooperate even while competing. We learned to find common ground even with enemies. We learned that survival sometimes requires working with those you do not trust. The display showed images of former enemies becoming allies. Nations that once fought terrible wars now trading peacefully. Military opponents shaking hands. Soldiers from different armies working together. We did not stop being warriors, G1 said. But we learned to choose when to fight and when to talk. We learned that strength without wisdom is just destruction. We learned to be more than our nature demanded. Ambassador Vrenk was quiet for a long moment. You present a compelling case. But the question remains. You say you learned to choose peace. Yet you came to us already prepared for war. You had already planned how to defeat us. How to defeat everyone here. G1 looked at Vrenk directly. Yes, we did. And I will not apologize for that because it saved lives. Explain, Vrenk demanded. When we arrived at Council Space, we had a choice, G1 said. Come in blind, hoping for the best, or come prepared, ready for the worst. We chose preparation. We analyzed every species. We developed strategies. We made plans. He gestured to the council chamber. And because we were prepared, we could afford to be peaceful. We knew that if someone attacked us, we could defend ourselves. That confidence allowed us to extend a hand in friendship, rather than arrive with weapons drawn. You are saying your readiness for war enabled your pursuit of peace, Threx said slowly. Exactly, Hieji said, stepping forward. If we had been helpless, we would have been too afraid to trust anyone. If we had been weak, we would have been easy prey. But because we were strong and prepared, we could choose to be gentle. Jiwan nodded. Humans have a saying. Walk softly and carry a big stick. It means present yourself peacefully, but maintain the ability to defend yourself. That is what we did. And if we had rejected you? Frank asked. If we had been hostile from the beginning? Then we would have defended ourselves, Jiwan said simply. And yes, we would have used every strategy we developed. But that was never our first choice. Peace was always what we wanted. War was just what we were prepared for. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Representatives argued with each other. Some wanted humanity expelled immediately. Others called for restrictions and monitoring. A few voices suggested accepting humans as they were. Ambassador Vrenk tried to restore order, but the debate was too heated. Finally, he called for a full recess while the council deliberated in private. Jiwan and Hieji were escorted to a secure waiting room. Hours passed. Hieji paced. Jiwan sat quietly, reviewing notes on a datapad. Neither spoke much. There was nothing left to say. They had shown the council everything. Now the decision was out of their hands. The door opened. A guard gestured. The council is ready. They returned to the chamber. The atmosphere had changed. It was quieter now, more solemn. The representatives had made their decision. Whatever it was, it would define humanity's place in the galaxy. But before Vrenk could speak, another door opened. A new figure entered, human, older, with gray hair and a dignified bearing. He wore formal diplomatic robes, deep blue with silver accents. Every eye turned to him. Jeho, G1 breathed, the prime representative of Earth, the highest-ranking human diplomat in the galaxy. Jeho walked to the center platform with measured steps. He bowed respectfully to Vrenk. Ambassador, honored council members, I apologize for this interruption. But Earth requests the right to make a final statement before your decision is announced. Vrenk's antennae twitched. This is highly irregular. I understand, Jeho said. But this decision affects not just the humans in this room, but all 7 billion humans on Earth and throughout our colonies. They deserve to have their voice heard through me. After a moment, Vrenk gestured acceptance. You may speak. Jeho stood at the center platform. His presence commanded attention without demanding it. When he spoke, his voice was clear and strong. I have listened to everything said here today. The accusations, the evidence, the defense. All of it has been true. Humanity is a species forged by violence. We come from a death world. We are warriors and hunters. We have fought terrible wars. We have killed each other in numbers too large to comprehend. He paused. All of this is fact. It is our history. It is our nature. And we do not deny any of it. Some council members nodded. Others waited for more. But here is what else is true, Jeho continued. When we developed weapons that could destroy our world, we chose not to use them. When we reached space, we chose to explore rather than conquer. When we encountered your signals across the void, we chose to approach peacefully rather than with hostility. He looked around the chamber, meeting eyes with different representatives. You fear what we are. That is reasonable, but you should also see what we choose to be. Every species has nature. What defines sapience is the ability to choose something different than what nature demands. A small holographic figure appeared beside him, another human woman, younger than Jeho but with the same dignified bearing. She wore civilian clothes marked with symbols of Earth's humanitarian organizations. This is Yuna, Jeho said. She directs Earth's Peace Corps. She has spent 20 years helping people in need. Tell them what humanity can do when we choose compassion. Yuna's hologram activated a display. It showed humans helping rebuild cities after natural disasters, human doctors treating the sick in remote villages, human engineers bringing clean water to communities that had none, human teachers educating children in impoverished areas. We do this on Earth, Yuna said. We help each other. We help strangers. We help former enemies. And when we joined the galactic community, we did not stop. We have offered aid to 3 council species already, medical supplies to the Krell during their plague outbreak, engineering support to the Thol after their mining accident, food shipments to the Vrenthi during their drought. She looked at the council. We did not do this for political gain. We did it because it was right. Because we have the resources and the ability to help, because that is who we choose to be. The display showed more examples. Human volunteers working alongside aliens, trading fairly, building relationships, creating art and music that blended human and alien cultures. You have seen our capacity for war, Yuna said. Now you have seen our capacity for peace. Both are real. Both are part of us. The question is not which one is true. The question is which one we choose to show you. Jeho stepped forward again as Yuna's hologram faded. The footage Commander Threx showed earlier. The classified incident. Do you know what happened after that fight? Threx leaned forward in his seat. Captain Doyen sent a message to the Krell vessels, Jeho said. He apologized for entering their space. He offered to share his medical supplies to treat their wounded. He asked if there was anything Earth could do to improve relations. He pulled up the transmission log. The exact words appeared in the display. To Krell Patrol. We regret this misunderstanding. We are prepared to provide medical assistance if needed. We wish to leave as friends, not enemies. The Krell refused, Jeho continued. But Captain Doyen tried anyway. Because that is what we do. We fight when we must. We win when we can. But we always offer peace when it is over. Ambassador Vrenk spoke for the first time since Jeho arrived. You make a passionate case. But the concern remains. You prepared for war with us. You created plans to fight every species here. How can we trust you? Jeho smiled slightly. Ambassador, may I ask you a question? You may. What contingency plans does the Council maintain for member species going rogue? For conflicts between members? For external threats? Frank's mandibles clicked. That information is classified. Of course it is, Jeho said. Because it would be irresponsible not to have such plans. Every government, every organization, every entity that values survival maintains contingency plans. You do it. We do it. Everyone does it. He walked slowly across the platform. The difference is honesty. We have shown you our plans. We have admitted our preparations. We have been transparent about our capabilities and our nature. Can every species here say the same? Silence filled the chamber. No one answered. That predator footage you showed at the start of this hearing, Jeho said. Do you know where it came from? From Earth's broadcasts, Threk said. From your media? No, Jeho corrected. It came from an official declassified assessment that Earth's government released to the galactic community. We made it ourselves. We showed you exactly what we are capable of. We chose transparency over deception. He let that sink in. We could have hidden our military. We could have lied about Earth's dangers. We could have pretended to be harmless. But we did not. Because trust cannot be built on lies. Another holographic figure appeared. A young human male in military uniform. This is Byung, a lieutenant in our defense forces. He helped prepare the assessment you saw. Byung's hologram spoke. We debated for months whether to release this information. Some argued it would make others fear us. But in the end, we decided that honesty was more important than appearing safe. We would rather be feared and trusted than liked and suspected. The display showed documents. Official Earth government releases. Detailed assessments of human capabilities. Information freely given to the Council. Every fact you discovered about us, Jeho said, we had already told you, or we made available for you to find. There was no conspiracy, no deception, just transparency. He turned to face Frank directly. So I ask you, Ambassador, and I ask the Council, which is more dangerous, a species that hides its true nature, or a species that shows you exactly what it is and then chooses to be your friend anyway? The chamber was completely silent now. Every representative listened intently. Humans are predators, Jeho said. His voice was strong and clear. We are warriors. We are survivors. We have fought and killed and conquered. All of this is in our history. All of this is in our blood, he paused. But we are also teachers and healers and builders. We are artists and scientists and explorers. We are capable of great violence and great compassion. We contain multitudes. He looked around at all the different species. You wanted to know if we are dangerous. Yes, we are. Very dangerous. But we are also your partners, if you will have us. We came to you in peace not because we are weak, but because we are strong enough to choose peace. Jeho bowed slightly. That is all Earth wishes to say. The decision is yours, he stepped back. Ji-won and Hyeji stood with him, presenting a united front. 3 humans representing billions more, waiting for the judgment of the galaxy. Ambassador Vrank consulted with other council members. Hushed conversations filled the chamber. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, Vrank stood. The council has reached a decision. It was not unanimous. There are still concerns, still fears, but the majority has agreed. He looked at the humans. Humanity has shown us their nature, both the darkness and the light. They have been honest when dishonesty would have been easier. They have chosen peace when war would have been simpler. Ji-won held his breath. The Galactic Council accepts humanity as full members, Frank announced, with all rights and responsibilities that entails. Welcome to the community of worlds, the chamber erupted, some in celebration, some in protest, but the decision was made. Later, as they left the chamber, Hyeji turned to Ji-won. Why did you smile? During the hearings, when they showed the predator footage, I saw you smile.